All right, Mr. Wilson, if you're finished, then we'll move on to Ms. Luckey.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Donald, for those remarks. I made a couple of notes. First of all, if you want to really go back to the Christian traditions that you're talking about, then you all are going to point to the Old Testament and make sure to call me an abomination because I'm transgender and that I was born this way and I have no choice but to be. So, if I'm an abomination, then, I can't help that. God made me that way. I was born this way. And so, if that, from your perspective, that means I'm damned from birth. I'm damned from birth. There's nothing I can do in my whole entire life to keep me from going to hell because I'm an abomination according to Christian traditional religion. Secondly, as far as, we are well funded. And why is that? Because we have had to fight tooth and nail for our, like I said before in my opening statement, our constitutional rights. And the story of the Stonewall Inn, that there was a law in New York City where you could not walk the streets if you got stepped up on by a cop and you weren't wearing 3 pieces of clothing that corresponded to your gender identified at birth, you could be arrested. And that's what they did. They went into the Stonewall Inn. They took everybody that looked female into the bathroom to check their genitals. And one night they said no. And that's how the Stonewall riot started. So, it's been the Christian tradition in power that created discriminatory laws against us in the first place. And so, yes, we had to rise up. We had to have a liberation, just like the suffragettes had to have a liberation, just like the blacks have had to have a liberation. We had to have a liberation. And that's what we have been doing. We are still liberating today. We only got protections for our rights to get married in 6 or 7 years ago, 2015. The right to get married just like anybody else. So, you could take that argument. I really don't find any merit in that argument of saying, oh, we're well funded and we're infiltrating this and that and the other thing. There is nothing wrong with teaching American history that includes the history of LGBTQ people because we are Americans as well. And that can be taught from whenever you start teaching children American history. We exist, we are in society, and there's nothing you can do except for, like I talked about, authoritarian theocracy to keep us from being in the public square and being in public. And children and adults and everybody knows that we exist. And so a lot of questions come up, and I think that we need to educate people as to who LGBTQ people are, why they are. And I also think that in a more inclusive society, we would actually be putting government funds, taxpayer funds, into researching why people are transgender, why people are gay, so that we can have a fuller understanding of our own humanity. Because if you deny me as an LGBTQ person, you deny my humanity. And that, to me, is fundamentally antithetical to the overall message, fundamental message of Christianity and Jesus Christ, which is one of love, peace, tolerance, and kindness. What part of calling somebody an abomination is kind? What part of making somebody feel bad is kind? None of it is. And so what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, woke does not mean what you think it means. You all have turned it into a dirty word. What woke means is enlightened, educated, facts. You know the facts. So therefore you can make reasonable, logical conclusions that aren't necessarily based on a book, the Bible, which is parable and not an actual reflection of actual history.
Ms. Luckey, thank you. Your time is up.